Welcome back. In 2008, Tracy Wilde had a sick feeling. She and her boyfriend would never get married. A few days later, that nagging sensation became a terrible reality, one that led to years of uncontrollable pain.
Tracy Wilde led Bible studies for congressional leaders on Capitol Hill. But 10 years ago, her faith was shaken to the core when her boyfriend unexpectedly passed away. Through months of grief and panic attacks, Tracy realized she needed someone to reach out to her, yet very few did. In her book, Finding the Lost Art of Empathy, Tracy inspires us to use what we learn from our pain to help others, and offers tips on connecting with people in a disconnected world.
Tracy Wilde joins us now with more of her incredible story. Tracy, it's great to meet you.
Nice
God bless
to meet you. Bless you.
So you've been dating Tennyson, your boyfriend, about 8 months, and you both decided we're going to get married.
Yeah.
You dropped him off. I mean, you had just, realized you're in love with him.
Yeah.
You just said yes to his proposal. You drop him at the airport, and you had this really sick feeling in your stomach.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Yeah, it was just one of those feelings. Like any woman, you wait for that moment that you're going to meet the one that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And you're so excited. And I remember feeling all that, but also feeling this weird sensation, like, well, I don't think we're ever going to get married. And just a few days later, he graduated to heaven, and it was a tragic experience. And I was obviously in shock and denial and all these things, but somehow God took all that pain and transferred it into so much purpose for my life, and hopefully that I can speak into other people's life about working through tragedy and grief.
When you say graduated to heaven, he was very fit, athletic. He was out hiking. He's from Colorado. So and they found his body.
Yeah, just a few days later, and there's a lot of mystery around his death, and and that was something I had to work through too. In grief, grief is hard enough, but then when it's shrouded by mystery and not really sure what was going on, and then just in a moment to lose someone, and having to work through that pain.
Well, you say that soon after that you were looking for a book, something to help you get through this time. And you were in Barnes & Noble, and you had your first real panic attack. I mean, what was going on? Yeah,
well, I thought I was going to die in that moment. I had never experienced a panic attack before, and just felt like the room was caving in on me. My heart's racing, and I remember just crying out to God. I'm a pastor's kid. I grew up in church. I've always loved Jesus. And I'm in Barnes & Noble, like just trying to find something to hold on to, something tangible. When you're in overwhelming grief, you feel like you got to grab something that's going to give you some stability. And so I tried to find a book, and I just couldn't find anything.
And you just burst out in tears right in Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, how embarrassing.
Oh my gosh. Well, you say, why did his death make you feel so isolated? Because you were a part of a church community, like you said, you're a pastor's kid, and you're a pastor now yourself. But why did that make you feel so isolated?
I think death challenges the Christian faith in God, this theology of a good God. So I think sometimes the Christian community, they want to be there for you, and they are good at showing sympathy. But what I realized is maybe we're not great at showing empathy. Which there's a slight difference between sympathy and empathy. And so what I discovered was there were people in my church home that loved me and wanted to be there for me, but they didn't know how to practically do that. They didn't have the tools. They didn't know what to say, or what maybe not to say, or what actions they could take that could help someone in a situation like that.
And that's what you talk about in your book, Finding the Lost Art of Empathy. You talk about the difference between sympathy and empathy. And what are the distinctions?
Well, sympathy is wonderful, and we need to have sympathy for one another. But it's as simple as writing a sympathy card, or an apology card, and sending it in the mail to someone, maybe sending someone flowers, which are all wonderful things. Empathy is more active. Empathy is getting involved and staying involved in someone's life through all of the seasons and all the journey of pain.
Feeling their pain.
Yeah, it's really getting involved in it, and not giving up on someone until the time is up. That, they're through on the other side of pain, which I can promise you this, you will get to the other side if you just keep moving. But we need people to come around us and show empathy actively.
How long did you stay in that grief and with the questions and panic attacks, and, how long did you stay there?
It's, I don't know if I know the timeline of when some of that stopped, but I know that as soon as I really started getting into a community of having people that I was open with, and just the journey of experiencing these emotions, all of a sudden I began to see that God really was near. And I really did change. I went to Regent Seminary, not just about a year after he had passed away. I came to Virginia Beach, went to Regent, and I didn't want to get angry at God. And it was in that moment that I started to really discover God's purpose for my life. And so in a way, Regent kind of saved me. It did. It's not even a plug for Regent, but man, Regent is amazing. And it really did. It helped me see that God is bigger than my pain. God is bigger than the world's circumstances.
Well, you ran towards God with your pain instead of running away and, you know, finding comfort in something else. Although in the beginning you said you couldn't even open the Bible. Right. And but later, you know. Yeah. That happened. So, so you ended up coming to Regent and you got your master's in divinity.
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
So, was that the turning point? Was coming to Regent?
I think it was. It really was for me. It was my attempt to not hate God, to not get mad at God, not to blame God. And it was really in studying the Bible and really getting God's heart for my life and for others. It opened my eyes to see the pain of our world and how much we need Jesus to come on the inside of us and just surround us in whatever pain it is. If it's a divorce, if it's a breakup, if it's a death, whatever it is, God is near to the brokenhearted, Psalm says.
And Tracy, you made a promise to yourself when you were going through this pain and you were looking for something to help you and something to read and you couldn't really find it. You said, I'm going to write a book and help other people that are going through this, and you've done that.
I did. I know. It's nice to make a to-do list and actually get to check it off, isn't it? And so it's a great opportunity and honor for me to be able to hopefully write something that's going to give people tools, whoever you might be. You know, you might be going through something.
So somebody who's watching right now who's still in the middle of it, can they move on? Will they move on from this pain? Can you get away from that deep pain?
Absolutely. I believe it's God's heart for all of us, is that we might find ourselves in a situation of pain, but God never intends for us to stay there. And so God wants to lead you through all that journey, and he's going to burst out of that pain. A lot of purpose is going to burst through.
So right now you're living in Boise, Idaho, and what a beautiful place. I'd love to visit you out there.
Come anytime.
Oh my gosh, I've never been there. Well, it's been a pleasure. Tracy, thank you so much for sharing your story. If you've ever been hurt, and who hasn't, or you know someone who has been, you need to get Tracy's book. It's full of stories. It's uplifting. It's called Finding the Lost Art of Empathy, and it's available in stores nationwide.